This video is sponsored by Amalena Children's Haven.
My name is Frimpomaa. I'm a pharmacist by profession. I have one child, he's a toddler, he's 2 years. And I have a business online. It's a hair business. We sell hair bundles, we make wig caps and then ponytails, anything to make the woman look good. Yeah, hair wise. Yes, it's known as beautiful hair. When my husband and I got married, we were living with my mother-in-law for a few weeks, and one day I was getting ready for work and she was frying fish. The usual me will not be offended with the smell, but this time I was very much irritated by it. I'm like, why is she frying fish this early morning? Like, it got to me to the point that I started questioning myself, like, why is this getting to you? So I brushed it off, got to work. Then when I got to work, I was feeling the symptoms, sleepy, you know, my tenderness in the boobs, all the symptoms that come with pregnant, nauseating feeling. So someone was like, why don't you get a pregnancy test kit and then test and see? Because, you know, you're married. And I'm like, okay, fine. So I did it and I found out that I was pregnant. And then I started to cry. I was crying so much because I had plans of going back to school. So it just, like, you know, threw me off. So the next day I called my husband and he was like, why is your voice down? Because this is not the usual you. And I was like, this is the news, so I'm pregnant. And then he was like, okay, if you're pregnant. Then I started to cry. So he was out of the country, he was with his brother. Then I told them what happened, and both of them were like, Frimpomaa, why are you crying? Do you know what people are going through for this? Why are you crying? So after they said that, you know, I cut the call, it actually dawned on me, why am I crying, really? Then, you know, I went to the flow, and yeah, it was good. By God's grace, it was good, yeah. When I told my mom I was pregnant, right, she was telling me that, that's for our family, we like to spit and vomit, so expect it. But I told her after 2 weeks and I hadn't experienced that, so I didn't want to start blowing my trumpet media. I wanted to see if really it will happen. So after a month, she kept saying it and kept asking me. I was like, Ma, unfortunately, you know, it didn't happen with me, maybe someone else, but by God's grace I dodged that bullet. So, but I'm eating a lot, things that I would usually not eat. I'm eating the kinky that I don't really like, with cassava fish. If it's not cassava fish, I won't eat the kinky. I'm eating ice cream. Normally I'll eat ice cream, but this time I was eating in the morning, afternoon, evening. I'll even buy some in my fridge that when I wake up I'll go and eat it. It was that bad. So yeah, those were the only weird things I'd say happened to me. And my feet got swollen. Like, I was scared to the point that I went to the hospital. They checked my blood pressure, but they were like, you're fine, it's just one of those things. So now all my shoes didn't fit. I was wearing sandals and slippers everywhere. Yeah, so I think basically other than that, everything else was fine. By God's grace, yeah. It was a Saturday, but my husband works on the weekends sometimes, so he had gone to work, and you know, on the Friday, I was actually expecting him to come because I was past my due date and I was getting tired. So I think that evening when I got home, I went to stand by the calendar in our hall, and then I looked at the dates, and then I looked at my tummy. And I said in tree, into umba, like, ma, bra, why the patrol, bra. So I just said that, and then I went to take my bath, and then I slept. So the following day, which was a Saturday, my husband went to work, and then we had already packed my stuff. Everything was, you know, ready to go in case anything happened. So he went, and then I went to take my bath. So as I was taking my bath, I saw the mucus plug. And I had gone for a bit of antenatal classes, so I knew that was a classic example of labor starting. So I actually freaked out. But I finished bathing and quickly picked my phone. And then I called my mom. I didn't even call my husband, I called my mom. I was like, Ma, I think it's time. She was like, call your husband. Because my mom was in Kumasi then, she wasn't close to me. So I call your husband and then let's see. So I called him and he was at work, which was really far from home. So he called his other friend who lives close to us, and then he was very fast. Like by the time I could say Jack, he was there and he was calling me, are you ready? Blah blah blah. So I just picked my bag and then he met me halfway, picked my bag, and then we sat in the car and then full speed. And it was funny for me because he has a wife who has given birth to 2. But the way he was going, as if it was his first time, I was like, calm down, the one pregnant, no you. Like, so yeah, and then we got to the hospital. Then, I don't know, all of a sudden, I think the emotions, I started tearing up again. Then my husband got there. Yeah, and when we got there, it was a female gynecologist. I was like, thank God, because I don't want a male to check me. But I had a male gynecologist like throughout the whole period, but I was praying I would get a female to help me deliver. So when I went in, it was a she. I was excited. But what I did not know was she was going to stick her whole fist down there. So literally when she did it, I was in shock. I was more of in shock than in pain, because I didn't even feel the pain. She just put the gloves. She was like, lie down. I'm like, okay. She's a female. I know she understands where I'm coming from. She was like, whoop. I was like, okay. Then she just brought it out. And then I just saw a bit of blood on the glove. And she was like, oh, you are just 3 centimeters. So you go home, come back later. But when I gave birth, I have a friend who is a midwife there. She was like, no, the job that her husband does, he's usually not around. So I think we have a room, we can prepare for her. And then, yeah, so then they admitted me, changed into my robe. And the contractions actually started like menstrual cramps. So in my head, I'm like, so this is it. I'm fine, cry. And I even told my husband, please go and get us food, I'm hungry. So he went to get us food, we were eating together. Then the first dangerous word came. I remember I was holding the food and I just dropped it and screamed. He was just looking at me like, what is happening? I just can't remember his expression, and it's so funny. So I was like, I don't know what that was. Like, what is that? Then the midwife was labor has started. I'm like, huh? So I'm like, I'm not eating anymore. Please, let me concentrate. Please, leave me alone. I went to put on gospel music, trying to create the ambience. I want to be calm, because if what happened is what is going to be happening, and So yeah, that was how it went actually. And then it got uncomfortable with time. The cramps, it was unbearable. I remember my husband had to walk out of the room because he couldn't bear me screaming. Then one time I think he was outside. I screamed so much, he came back. And I held his hand. I'm like, I hear there are some forms that you need to sign for them to do CS on me. Please sign it and let them go and do. I beg. And he was like, no. I mean, the nurse or the midwife said you're almost there. I'm like, no. I won't take this. And he was like, no, calm down. So at a point I got annoyed, and the cramps, the contraction came. And I was screaming. He was rubbing my back. I'm like, take your hand off me. You said you won't go and sign the thing. Please go, get out of this room. I remember he looked at me like, what is happening to this one? I'm like, please go. I don't want to see your face. So he left. So the labor actually started from 11 at home till like 2 a.m. at dawn. So I actually sacked him, and then I think he went to this hotel right down the hospital. So he went to get it, and then he was there. So at a point, the midwife came, she wrapped stuff around me. I think it's the monitor to check the contraction and everything. So I think the contractions were getting serious. Then at a point, I told the midwife that I want to poo. She was like, no. You don't want to poo. Whatever you want to do, do it. I'm like, no. Who are you to tell me that I don't want to poo? I want to poo. She was like, no. I'm like, no, you are not telling me what to do. So I had the whole thing wrapped around my hand there, and I got down from the bed. I'm going to poo and you won't stop me. She just looked at me like, what is going on? So I went to the washroom, actually peed, but the poo wasn't coming. I'm like, what is going on? So I came back, and then it was just worse. I felt like throwing up. I threw up all over the bed. And then the hospital where I gave it is such a way that your room is converted to a labor room. You don't have to be moved to another place to give birth. They just convert everything, even the lights are changed, everything to labor. Then you give birth there. So she was like, you see, I told you to calm down. See, we have to clean you up and everything. So I was in pain. I was screaming. I was like, I want to call my husband. He was like, calm down, let's clean up and then you can give him a call. So they finished cleaning up. One midwife was holding me the whole time and the other was, she was with the cleaners cleaning up. Then they put me on the bed and I was like, I want to call my husband. And then she was like, I think where the baby, I don't know what is happening here, you need to push. After pushing, then you can call him, because if you say you are going to call him, let's just do what we need to do. So then I literally pushed twice. Yes, just twice. And then my baby came. When he came, he cried just once. Then he couldn't cry again. So I was worried. I'm like, what's happening? And then when they lifted him, it was actually blue. And then they were rushing him. I'm like, what is happening? They're like, calm down. You can call your husband now. So I was like, hello, babe. I was like, I said, baby has come. I was like, I'm like, babe, baby has come. I was like, oh, I'm coming. Then he was there. So when I saw him, I'm like, follow them. I don't know where they've taken to follow them because I'm exhausted. I'm about to sleep. So I remember sleeping and then he coming in with him. I was like, do you want to see him? I'm like, of course, I want to see him. And I remember he looked like me. He really looked like me. I was like, it looks like you cheated me. I'm like, I suffered. So yeah, that was how the whole thing went down. And yeah, I didn't have trouble with the milk flowing in, because I remember when I held him, the midwife that was there was like, unbutton your top and then give him the breast immediately. And it was like my son was already trained from the womb. The way he just held it, he didn't even struggle with holding the nipple. But the downside was my other nipple was inverted. I think it was the left one. And he was a very hungry baby. So the aggression in which he wants to like hold onto the nipple caused me to have a sore on the left breast. And it was excruciating. It was that bad that when he's sucking, I can feel the pain on my back and I would scream. Yes, I remember going home and then I used to give him the right breast all the time. Then my mom noticed. She was like, why are you feeding your child with just one? What's going on with the other? I'm like, oh, he will take it, but let me just give him this. Then my mom was like, no, I'm standing on you, give him the other one because you might have mastitis. I'm like, I know, but he doesn't, finding any excuse for him not to suck on that one. So my mom succeeded and I put it in his mouth, and when he grabbed it, I screamed. My mom was like, oh, what's wrong? Then I think the following day we tried again and I was screaming. Then I think she noticed that no, something is happening. So she called the midwife, the one that I said was my friend where I gave birth. She was like, I need you to come and see her. Like, I don't know, I think there's something wrong because I know you feel a bit of discomfort, but I don't think breastfeeding is supposed to be that painful. So she came in and then she came to tutor me on, how to give it to him because my nipple was inverted. So there's a way by which it made it better a little, but it didn't, I wouldn't say it really helped. So what I ended up doing was I was pumping more of the left breast into a bottle and I was feeding him more with the right. And the disadvantage was that my right breast started becoming, bigger than the left one. To the point that when I dress up, I'll have to fill up the left to make it look even. Yeah, so I think that was my challenge. And I feel my son was not satisfied with the amount of breast milk that was coming in. So we had to, my mom was like, okay, why don't we add formula? Because he wasn't sleeping throughout the night so that he can sleep enough for you to also have rest. Because I was screaming at everyone because I wasn't sleeping. He wasn't sleeping, so I was also not sleeping. I was screaming at my sister. I was screaming at everybody, my husband, everyone. Then we decided to get formula. The very first day, he readily accepted it. But what we realized was that the moment he takes it in, he passes stool. Initially, it wasn't a problem because my mom was like, okay, it's new to his system, so he's adjusting to it. Till the point where he started dropping serious weight, like his collarbone was showing, the back, you know, he was losing so much weight. Then I called my midwife friend again. But shout outs to her, shout outs to Linda, because I can call her Adon, and she's married. I can call her Adon and Linda will pick. Like, God bless you, Linda, because you were there for me. So I could call her, I'm like, this is what's happening. And then she'll be like, okay, I think your child has milk or protein allergy. And as a health worker, I know what protein allergy is, but I'm like, yeah, people have it, until my son started experiencing it. So in a span of 1 month, we had bought about 5 or 6 different types of formulas. All of them were giving us the same result. Some of them will even give him rash on top. He was eating, but he was losing weight. So I was talking to a senior colleague of mine, and then she had twin boys in the US, and she was like, they had a similar issue, but they were given a special kind of milk, and her sister in the US says they still bring it in, so she would give me a sample for me to try. Then if I have to keep getting it, then she will sell it to me. I'm like, oh, fine, I know more. So she gave me the first container. We tried it and it worked, but it didn't taste like milk. It's like fish powder with the fishy smell, no taste, bland, you know. But my son was drinking it and he started gaining weight. I'm like, fair enough. So then I started reading more about this milk allergy thing. I realized that even, you know, chocolate, as he's growing, I can't give him. So many other things he reacts to. So my son really likes ice cream. Like, I think he likes the taste. But when I give him a bit, I'll have to give him an antihistamine because I know he'll react. Then next day he has rashes on his bum, on his arms or something. So it's something that we're still battling a little bit, because he likes his banku and fufu, so at least it's not that bad. But I think that a lot of mothers whose children experience some of these things should educate themselves and then try and find the best option for their kids, because I feel like a lot of people do experience it, but then they really don't know what's going on. So, because I met one mom and then she was still giving the child the formula anyway, saying that her daughter will grow into it and all of that. It wasn't helping, but then that was what her mom was telling her, so she was still giving it to her. So yeah, I think that was a bit of a challenge for me, but we're okay. By God's grace now, we're okay. Yes, I did get enough support, but my baby was a crybaby. He will cry for everything, cry and scream. I mean, you know, we started supplementing the breast milk with formula, and my baby was always crying that I was tired most of the time. That there was one night I forgot to actually give him his formula before he went to bed, and around 1 a.m. this boy just started bawling his eyes out, screaming. So I just woke up from bed, and when I'm going to sleep with him, we have 2 flasks. We have one with cold water, one with warm water, and then his feeding bottle. You know, I arrange everything in such a way that when I have to do formula for him, it's easy. So as he was crying, I just, you know, got up, took the hot water flask, you know, moving around. Then, you know, everything is ready except the hot water. I'm like, where's this hot water? Where is this hot water? So the whole time my mom was standing by the door folding her arms. I'm like, Ma, he's crying. Hot water, let me who baby alpha. It's like, in the crown. I'm like, okay. Then I made the milk for him, and then my mom went to pick him, soothe him up, and then we put the bottle, and then he fell asleep. So yes, I think it took a lot for him to adjust, and he hated sleeping in the mosquito net. Like, the moment you put it around him, even if he's in the AC, he will know that he's confined, so he will start crying. So I think it took a bit of a while, but he was okay. I mean, eventually, my mom did a great job. Like, yeah, I started seeing my mom in a whole new light. Like, honestly, I won't lie. Like, I the respect I had for her moved from here to like, yeah, honestly, yeah. She was a good teacher. She really helped. Immunization wasn't bad, because I had a bit of briefing from my midwife friend, so we were able to manage the high temperature and all of that. But it was circumcision. I think currently when they do it, they put a ring around it so that as it heals, it falls off naturally. But my son's own did not fall off. And the time they told us that it will fall off, I told my husband, you know what, I think we have to go back. Then I think on our way there, he was crying so much. I think now it was really, really painful. Then when we got to the hospital, I told my husband that I don't think I can go in with you guys, because the way he's even crying in the car now, if they have to, because the midwife told me that they were going to find a way of removing it by cutting it or something. I'm like, I don't even want to imagine or hear the screams. So you go in with him. So I was actually outside and my husband went in with him, and I could hear him scream, and I was just crying the whole time. I was just crying the whole time. But then eventually in 2-3 weeks he was fine. So yeah, circumcision was challenging, but we were fine eventually. None of it surprised me. I think because my midwife friend was on call, like anytime I needed her, she was there, and I had this app on my phone, and it was scary. Like the week in which they tell me you should expect this, it actually happens by God's grace. Yes. As for that, his milestones, by God's grace, it was spot on. It even scared me. I'm like, wow, okay, don't show off. We know, like, you're okay, you know. And my midwife too, you know, she was feeding me information, you know, sending me some links to some pages and all of that. So it was fine. Nothing really surprised me. Nothing, yeah. When my son was 6 months, I actually wanted to go back to work. But at that time, my mom had other engagements, and my mother-in-law too was not in the best shape. So I think I couldn't go back. So I took a whole year off, actually. Yes, I took a whole year off till my son was 1. So when it was like 1 year, 6 months, that was when I resumed work. It was not easy, because my son is the type that, because he has this protein allergies, he eats from home. I make everything from scratch. I want to know what I'm putting in the food, you know, where I'm buying it from, everything. So I do everything from home. So if in the morning I'm going to work, I have to drop him off with someone, I have to pack every single thing that he needs, from food, water, even the water. There's a brand that he's okay with. You change it and he's reacting. He's that sensitive. So it was a challenge. It was, and the waking up very early to get myself and him ready, it was a challenge. But eventually, you know, I got accustomed to it. Then COVID came. He couldn't go to school anymore, so I took a break again. So currently I'm on break because of him, yeah. Body changes. Like, I think when you are breastfeeding, you burn more calories, so you are likely to get back to your pre-baby weight quickly. For most people, some people it doesn't happen like that. Yes, you burn if you control your eating well. So I think I experienced that. But when he stopped breastfeeding, my mistake was that I didn't check my eating. I was eating like I was breastfeeding, you know, and I think hormonal changes, so the weight gain was on a different level. Like, I just couldn't accept it. It was that bad to the point that I know now I'm a size 14, but I'll be buying size 12 clothes because I'll lose weight and weight. But it wasn't happening until, you know, I had a conversation with someone. I started accepting some of these things, and then gradually we're getting there. We're accepting, you know, our new form and all of that. Yes, I would say that's one of the most challenging things, yes, for me right now. And then the other thing is, now he's a toddler. He's all over the place. He's experimenting, he's touching, he's jumping, he's so I'm always panicking. Yes, I'm always panicking. When I have to leave him for someone, I'm always praying, God, please protect my son, because I know he's all over the place. So yeah, I think those are the challenges that I'm experiencing. Yeah. My baby's smell. I mean, yesterday he woke up. I was in the kitchen and his dad was doing his stuff. He was in the same room with his dad, and then his dad came to the kitchen with him. And then he was like, so this boy, when he wakes up and he doesn't see you, it's like he's not okay. Because I was there, he passed by me and he's saying mommy, mommy. I'm like, yeah. So that alone makes me very, very excited. And the mere fact that I'm not a perfect person, but I have this little human looking up to me, like, you know, hanging on to me with their dear life. It is mommy that's going to give me food. It is mommy that's going to do this. It is mommy that's going to do, you know, it's like they look up to you for everything. And I'm like, every time I'm like, God, like, who am I that you give me this responsibility, you know, for literally he's perfect because he's not an adult. He doesn't know what's right from wrong. So to give me this role. So yeah, I think that's the most rewarding thing. That's the most rewarding thing. Yeah. And when he's somewhere, or when he wakes up and he can't find me and he finally finds me, it's like, yes, mommy, and I'm just over the moon, like when he says that. So yeah, I think that's the rewarding thing for me. Now it is obvious that the help with our kids and toddlers are not there like our mother's time. And I remember when I gave birth to my baby and he was like 4 months, I had to attend a work-related program, and I was finding every excuse not to go because of my child. Then my mom had a conversation with me. She was like, Ajwa, enya kola wenti ena umpopra, because if you don't live, he will grow up, and then you start telling him, because of you I didn't do this, because of you I didn't do that. But it won't be his fault, it will be your fault. So try and find ways of doing what you are supposed to do, but also make him comfortable. So don't use your kids as an excuse for not doing anything. You know, try and find, you know, the reliable person that you know you can leave your child with and go do your thing. If you have to multitask, because eventually he or she will grow. You can't tell him that it's because of you I didn't get this, and they will tell you, Mom, it was not my fault. And that is the truth. You don't want them to grow up regretting that because of them you couldn't, you know, follow your dreams. So I think that is what a lot of mothers, you know, tend to have challenges with. The moment they are moms, they have to put off a lot of things, and yeah, and then look good whilst you're doing it. Yeah, look good whilst you're doing it. Have fun with it. Enjoy it, because it will pass, and then you'll be like, wow.
This video was brought to you by Amalena Children's Haven.